the generation that I grew up under is kind of unique in the way that in our childhood, we didn't really have technology a whole lot. My stepdad got his first cell phone, and my stepdad spoiled himself. He got all the newest crap all the time. And he got his first cell phone, I believe, in 2004, which was like a groundbreaking thing, and it costed an exorbitant amount of money for this Nokia phone that was essentially just a brick. And he would strap it with his leather thing to the side of his belt and walk around
Oh
like it's
yeah,
all cool. Yeah.
yeah, he was a rock star.
Yep. So that's what we grew up under. MySpace came around, I think, in about '07, '08 or so. And I joined in, I don't remember, 2008, 2009. So we grew up under that transition period of there's essentially no technology. And then all of a sudden, here's everything all at once.
Jess is my wife. Is Gen X, but she's barely because she was born in 1980.
Yep. And that's
So
that's what you are too, right? Is Gen X?
yeah,
Yeah.
Gen Alpha is 2010 to 2024.
Man, why do they get to get the cool name?
Generation Beta.
Oh yeah, they're calling that one Bravo, I think, because beta sounds a little beta.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, and then Zillenial is between those, and the reason why Zillenial is important is like I was saying earlier about being in the midst of the technology throughout your growth, but then also we share in major events such as 2001, explosions of the Twin Towers and whatever else.
Yeah.
Happened in between, and then like the recession in '08, and we were a little bit older during that time.
Yeah, I suppose for me, Gen X and the Boomers, there's a big difference
Oh yeah.
because of the drug era and the sexual revolution and all that. So that's not things that, those are things that my dad grew up with. So that, in fact, he's much different than his father, way more different generation than my generation is different from my father. It's really not that much different.
Yep.
Because we just had punk rock and alternative Euro alternative. It wasn't that big a difference from acid rock and war, resistance kind of war protesting and all that.
Right.
It was all kind of the same thing. So
Yeah, well, and the thing is too with the different generations is you have the silent generation that fought in World War II, and when they come home to citizens that are grateful for their service and glad that we went and we stopped the Nazis, we ended the brutality of what the Japanese were doing at the time, and those servicemen are the reason why that ended. And so they came home to a lot of fanfare, and they started families, they got jobs in manufacturing, they benefited from their war effort. And then the boomers come along and they're kind of just spoiled rotten because the silent generation, they come from just this brutality of warfare that these men fought in. And they don't want their children to have to deal with any of that hardship that they had to go through. These silent generation guys, these are some hard men. And they come back and they say, boomers, we're going to raise you in comfort. Everything in life is going to be great. And then the boomers come up, and people like your dad went and fought in Vietnam, which, I understand that the Viet Cong isn't exactly the Nazis or the Japanese. It's a little bit different of a dynamic there. But your dad comes back to America to get spit on because the boomers were so comfortable growing up that they didn't understand hardship, violence, warfare, the kinds of things that your dad had to go through during Vietnam, which I would say it's different, but it's probably equally as brutal as what the silent generation went through in World War II.
I know the Japanese were, there wasn't such a huge influence on the soldiers. There wasn't that many soldiers that were taken prisoner of war in World War II. I don't know enough about the numbers. I guess I know in Vietnam, like for all of the soldiers that were on boots on the ground, the psychological aspect was much worse than it was before. So think about that though. Like my grandpa worked at a paper mill. He didn't have a degree or anything. He just got out of college, went and worked on the farm, and then he got mad and left his hometown and moved and just got a job at a paper mill. Got married young, had 6 children and a nice home and a boat and a cabin and went hunting all the time. I mean, the dude had it made in the shade, working at a paper mill. Think about that. You can hardly rent a cardboard box working a blue collar job today, you know?
Yeah, and just to be clear, he wasn't the executive production manager of the paper mill or anything. At the time, he got the cabin and the house, you know, maybe you got to work a little bit to save up for those kinds of things. But the point that even the bottom level worker made enough money where you can get a decent family home, you could even have 2 cars possibly, you know, you could even have a boat maybe.
Yeah, and your wife didn't need to work, and you know that's why all these homes in the United States, anyway, that were built in the 50s and 60s have a 1-car garage. Everybody had 1 car. Why have 2 cars?
Yeah.
Your wife just stays home and raises the family.
Yeah.
You know, but so that was a big deal. The bra burners came along and thought they were really doing something for themselves, and all they did was force women to work for the rest of their lives. For the rest of, like, literally the age of mankind, women now have to work. The mothers have to work. The kids have to be sent to daycare.
These families are having to send their children to get raised by strangers. And by strangers, I mean these teachers in these public schools. Schools going outside of the bounds of what they should be doing. And they're teaching these children things that the parents don't agree with. And the parents show up to these school board meetings and complain to the school board about it. And what does the school board say? You don't have a right to tell us what to teach.
Yeah.
And the government agrees with them.
Yeah, it's insanity.